Hello, everybody. This is Stephen Whitfield, drilling contractor here at the 2022 SPE IADC Managed Pressure Drilling and Underbalance Operations Conference in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. We're in the final moments of the conference here. The exhibitors are packing their things. They're getting ready to go. I managed to drag two gentlemen from Halliburton to speak with me about automation, remote operations, and MPD. I've got Andrew McLellan, product champion for MPD at Halliburton. I've got Todd Pomeroy, technical advisor for MPD. They're going to speak with me about some things that they said up there on the stage at this conference earlier today. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
So, Andrew, I'll start with you. You spoke a lot about remote operations, spoke a lot about autonomous systems, automation. First question, I guess, would be, what value does Halliburton see in remote operations, particularly in mitigating drilling risk?
Well, the advantage of the remote ops is the oversight, right? So we see the value in being able to assist the people in the field, make the right decisions, help alleviate some of the demand on them for making complex decisions on their own, right? We can give them access to subject matter experts and better make decisions.
You also mentioned something about virtual remote operations levels, the different levels of virtual remote operations. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Well, essentially, the virtual remote operations levels are just a series of service delivery models, right? So as we progress through the levels, we essentially apply better and more capabilities across the remote ops. We can start at 1, where it's oversight, and move through to 2 and 3, where you start having remote interactions, and all the way to the level 4, where you're fully automated.
You also had a diagram about the building blocks of autonomous systems. Can you explain a little bit about what those building blocks were?
Well, essentially, it's the thought process behind how do we get to an autonomous system. So, our first building block is around the roadmap module, where we digitize our workflows and provide the software with the drilling plan, right? Feed that into the automation. Then, in order to build on an autonomous system, we need a data aggregate, right? We need a way to data interface across all the systems on the rig. A part of that module needs to include some user authentication, where we have rights and understand who's in control and who's not. In order to get autonomous, we need a strong data validation model, right? And so data validation is just ensuring the data that's driving the system is correct, right? The next building block that we're looking at is around event detection and barrier management, right? MPD plays a big role in barrier management, and so we want to make sure that that system's robust and communicating with all these other building blocks. Another one is the hydraulic model, right? The hydraulic model is what drives the ship for us. So it's important that we build that automation, robust automation into that, and then ultimately it's sending those commands to your autonomous controller. And from there, that's what drives the system.
Now, Todd, I got to bring you into this a little bit here. We've been talking to Andrew a lot. You guys presented a little bit about a case study to tie this back into MPD, a case study that you guys had done in India with ONGC on an MPD project. Can you share a little bit about, I guess, what happened, what are some of the lessons learned, and I guess what you were trying to do out there?
Yeah, sure. So ONGC, this was the first time they were doing MPD in the region in the eastern part of India. And they hadn't done MPD in that region before. The rig hadn't done it before. And as Andrew talked about in our presentation earlier, we had some issues with personnel because of the COVID pandemic. So what we ended up doing on the fingerprinting part of the project is we did some remote operations with them. So I remoted in and worked with the team on location to verify that their settings were correct in our data acquisition and control system. And I also went through part of the actual procedures, like doing connections, choke plugging, and things like that, where to prove the concept that we were able to do this in a remote operation situation. So the lessons learned from it was that being able to remote in and provide support on these kind of startup projects is invaluable, because both sides of the call learned many things from it. Like we learned, everything from the MPD operation side of things, like how can we refine processes and procedures, to bandwidth limitations. So how are we going to deal with this if it's in a remote location that has poor internet connection? So there's actually many more lessons learned besides that. I just can't share them all today. I don't think we have enough time. So it was a great project, though.
We only have so many minutes to talk about this. So, but thank you guys for sharing this information. Andrew, Todd, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me on this. I know that this was a highly a topic that everybody wanted to hear about here at this conference. So it's great that you were able to share a bit about what you discussed here for our viewers today. So thank you again.
Thanks for having us.
My pleasure.
And thank you for visiting Drilling Contractor.